I'm just going to be very blunt. We cannot reduce poverty unless we change our economic model, which I have told you earlier. We need to invest more in human capital and infrastructure. We can't run a 70% recurrent expenditure and 30%. In fact, it was this present administration that even increased it to 30%. At some point, it was 15% capital, 85% recurrent. And I told you earlier, once your expense supersedes your investments, you're getting poorer. Once your expense supersedes your investment and your income, you're getting much more poorer. And once your expense supersedes your investment and your income, and population is increasing, you are getting super poor. And that's why we're adding 8,000 people to extreme poverty every day. We are not even slowing down.
Now, what the government says is that it recognizes the fact that it's top-heavy. I'm talking about, the size of the public service. Yeah. And if it were to reduce the recurrent, that will mean job losses for the civil servants. And when we talk about that, it then somehow becomes a political issue, and then it gets into issues with the labor unions.
We have the money, but the money is just going into the wrong places. I said this earlier. We need to read the budget page by page. When you read the budget page by page, then you know where money is going into, the funds are going into. Funds are going into travels. Funds are going into benefits and allowances. Funds are going into training. We're buying the same computer we bought last year, increasing it. This computer, for Christ's sake, has a lifespan. You buy 10 computers last year, then you are buying 12 or 15 this year. Do you change computers every year? Do you change photocopiers every year? Those are the things that need to be audited, right, to save money. All we need to do is look at the budget critically and cut down on our expense and redirect those funds. Now, you talked about the economic recovery and growth plan, right? Now, I spoke about this in Abuja. You are saying you want to drive human capital development. It's part of one of the priorities. And then in 2018, you are investing 2.1 billion. Population, 198 million. In 1980, you invested 2.028 billion. Population, 73 million. Now, your goal is to drive human capital, right? How do you want to do that when you're investing the same amount you invested in 1980? You're investing it in 2018. It doesn't make sense.
The government might say revenues, resources are stretched. Then when a booming oil period, now oil prices are lower. I know that's not an excuse, but it would appear that that's our current economic reality.
Well, whether booming oil period or not, all we need to do is look at that budget critically. If we look at the budget critically, there are a lot of places, there are over 1,001 places in the budget that money can be saved and then redirected into investment in human capital and infrastructure. I am not an advocate of bogus government, right? First of all, I think we have a bogus government. The number of civil servants are too much. Government needs to look for how to cut down on the numbers, right? And then save monies from there, and then redirect those funds.
You know, for the part of the monetary authorities, they've been trying to, excuse me, they've been trying to come up with policies, intervention schemes particularly. We've seen that especially in the agriculture sector, through the Bank of Industry, NERSAL, to give farmers, small and medium-scale enterprises access to credit at single-digit rates. And we've actually seen that happen. Which for you, would you say that that is having a positive impact and effect?
Well, it's not something that will just have a positive impact on the short run. Those are long-term, medium and long-term goals, right? If you're giving me a single-digit interest rate to go into business, it might not start. I might not start to make profit until maybe the next 2-3 years, or even 4 years, right? Before it starts to impact my own life and starts to impact the economy. But it's a step in the right direction.
So would you say that the monetary authorities need to just scale it up?
What do you mean scale it up?
Give more, bring more people into that bracket.
Definitely. Definitely. See, the credits, right? You go to the Western world, you have an account, they give you a credit card, right? You register a business. The next thing they call you up to see how they can structure credits for your business. Those are the things that drive the small and medium scale enterprises. Access to available funds to do what you need to do. But when you come into an economy and they are giving you 20-something%, right? credit facility. That means that the business has been designed to fail from the onset.
And another part of the story is, I mean, for the fiscal side, because it would appear that the monetary authorities are doing a lot that the fiscal authorities should be doing, but we have these intervention schemes. Foreign direct investment, I mean, if we had perhaps had more of that in the coming into the country from foreign investors from the private sector, perhaps that could address some of our structural imbalances and defects, roads.
You want FDIs. You have 8,000 people being added to extreme poverty every day. What does that tell you? Now, the first offshoot of poverty is crime. Crime leads to insecurity. You understand? Now, if you look at, there was a survey that the World Bank conducted last year in 2017, and they said they actually did a survey on multinational CEOs, what they really want before going into emerging economies. And the first and foremost thing was political stability and security. You have 8,000 people being moved into extreme poverty every day. If you look at the global conflict tracker, there's something you will notice. All the places that you have conflicts are major places that you have extreme poverty in the world. And all the places that you have extreme poverty, if you go into the Global Peace Index, all those countries are at the bottom of the Global Peace Index, including Nigeria. Now, then when you now go further into TI rating, Transparency International, all the countries that you have extreme poverty are at the bottom of Transparency International. And then when you now go further to the ease of doing business, all the countries at the bottom, majority of the countries, over 90% or 95%, at the bottom of the Global Peace Index, are at the bottom of the ease of doing business. What does that tell you? Peace and stability is very, very key to your foreign investors, because that's the #1 thing they look at. And if you go look at data from 2012 or 2013, when FDI started dropping into this country and investors moving their funds out, it was at the peak of Boko Haram. In fact, our investment from 2012 at 8 point something dropped to 3 point something in 2015.